Hey everyone, welcome to another Amphibia video. This time it's the second temple and Barrel's Warhammer. Spoilers as usual, if you have not seen these episodes, watch those first, then come back to here. Here we go. These two episodes, things are getting important to the overall plot again after the past couple ones were kind of minor. It starts off with Anne and Marcy and the planners. They're at the amphibian Arctic, ready to go to the second temple. Marcy, she takes the green gem and shines it onto this thing to be like, oh, here's where the temple is. But the temple's just not there. They're like, what is this? They run into Valeriana, and she's like, I know you're charging the stones. I wonder if you're worthy of such a prize. She says she comes from an ancient order that studies the stones and the calamity box, and she decides to guide them. Anne doesn't really trust her because she asks to see the music box, and she kind of looked like she really wanted it, and Anne's like, a little suspicious. She gives everyone these coats made of like caterpillar hair, but while they're climbing this mountain, they run into a cardinal, which eats caterpillars, and Anne sacrifices her jacket to get the cardinal away. There's an avalanche, and there's someone's igloo that's near the bottom of it, and Anne's running them like, I have to save them. And it turns out the person who lives there isn't even home, but the fact that she tried is important. Because remember, the first temple was about the mind, this temple is about the heart, you know. It's important to have heart. And the third temple will be about fighting, and it looks like there'll be a big fight there. Valeriana deems them unworthy of the stones, and Anne yells at her. They get into this little back and forth, and she teleports Anne away. They're on top of this weird tower, and Valeriana says she's the box's rightful guardian, and she knows everything about Anne, like she lists some of the various stuff she did, and is like, I know you stole the box. They get into a little fight going back and forth as to like, oh, I want the box, no, I want it. And eventually Valeriana, she like trips over the edge, but like Anne goes in to save her, and Valeriana is like, oh, you truly are worthy, and Anne's like, what? They were in the temple the whole time. Everything was a test to see who was the pure of heart and was responsible enough, and Anne did all these selfless things, and they're like, yes, you are worthy of the stone. Valeriana charges the stone, and the blue magic is drained out of Anne, like what happened to Marcy in the first temple. But it takes a lot longer, and it's like just creeping its way up, like it doesn't go all the way. And, you know, it's like close to the top, and like Anne hears the planners screaming, like, oh, I've got to save them. And she's like, it's fine if this isn't like fully charged. And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And she grabs it and runs down, and it turns out that they weren't in danger. Marcy was just showing them like funny videos. And Anne's like, oh, look, I got the stone, it's charged. And, like, it looks fine. And she puts it in the box. And, like, as they're leaving, you see that, oh, it's, like, fizzling. Like, it's flickering. So, like, Anne might still have some magic left in her, which will probably be important in True Colors and the third temple. Alright, Barrel's Warhammer. Sasha's back. She's finally back. Sasha and Grime and Percy and Braddock, they're at the East Toad Tower, and they're talking to these other toads, which are like Grime's sister is one of them. Apparently his real name is, I think it was Grimathy. I might have heard it wrong. Grime proposes that they overthrow King Andreas and make the toads the true rulers of Amphibia, and they get a lot of support. Sasha finds out that Anne and Marcy are working together and working with the king, and she gets like really mad, and it's like, calm down. There's this really old toad who's there, like his eyes are sunken, and like at the beginning of the episode, they're even like questioning if he's even alive. He says, find Barrel's Warhammer. If you find it, we'll listen to you. And apparently, Barrel was like this ancient toad hero who sacrificed himself, and he left this hammer behind. And it's like, whoever wields it is the true ruler of all toads. And there's this beast which supposedly guards the hammer, but Sasha's like, no, we can take care of it. They find the hammer pretty easily. It's just like in the outskirts of the East Tower, and they start to lift it. And it's like, oh no, it's embedded in the beast. It's this giant worm, where it's like, oh, this is harder than expected. And Percy and Braddock are like, we should go, we should leave. And Sasha's like, no, we're doing this. Sasha uses this lasso to like guide the worm back to the tower, where she's like, you know, we're gonna get the hammer back to the tower if we do this. And Grime's like, we're going too fast, we have to slow down. We need to use the hammer to slow down the worm. So then they try to lift it, and it's not working, and like Sasha gets mad again, and her eyes finally glow. It was like pinkish and not purple, which, I mean, I don't really know. Maybe, is this pink or purple? You decide. She finally lifts the hammer, but it's really heavy, so she and Grime together, they like smash it down onto the worm and slow it down, and they jump into the East Tower. Like, your hammer has been delivered. All 3 Toad Towers, because apparently there's 3 of them, all 3 of them agreed to support the Toad Rebellion. Percy and Braddock abandoned Sasha because, like, she doesn't really care about them. She put their lives in danger. And, like, Sasha got really upset. Like, she was going to chase after them, but Grimes like, no, just let them leave. Like, you know, it's a not-so-subtle way of reminding Sasha of the other friends she's lost in the process of being here in Amphibia. We know in the next episode that Sasha will be at the 3rd temple, because now that she knows that Anne and Marcy are working together, she'll be like, okay, they're going to these temples, they're collecting these stones, we can ambush them at the 3rd temple, but they'll have this volcanic fight, and they'll come together to defeat this giant robot-looking thing that was in the trailer. And because the synopsis for the last few episodes, like, implies that they'll seemingly be working together, that they'll maybe not reconcile, but, you know, come together to fight a greater evil for the greater good. You know, Sasha wants to overthrow King Andreas, and after he reveals what he's really doing with that giant beast with all the eyes, Anne and Marcy will want to be on Sasha's side too. So, maybe not fighting for the same reason, but fighting against the same thing. That's pretty much it for these Amphibia episodes. I guess now's a good opportunity to mention that Owl House picture. We're so starved for Season 2 content that it's like, I'm one of those fans who, whenever something gets released, is like, did you see that? Did you see it? I used Frosta because I'm watching Shiva right now, and she's just adorable. It looks like it's a shot of the villains, but because Lilith is with them and, like, she's over with the side of good now, it seems like that, I don't remember who commented this, someone pointed out that it, you know, there was a similar shot in the Season 1 intro with Willow and Gus and Amity, all people that Luz became friends with. So people are like, oh, it'll start with them, then it'll pan down to this, like, villain shot. It'll be like, oh, these will be, like, people from the Coven that Luz will become friends with. Like, we have Lil so far, and maybe the I'm Tired spy guy and Kikimora, maybe both of them will befriend Luz and abandon the Coven. Maybe. Speculation, who knows? Well, that's all for this video. Until next week, thanks for watching.